There is a reason why the rank 1 spot goes to the same players every time leagues comes around. It's because they're using the same techniques no matter what, and it works all the freaking time. But guess what? The best part about these techniques is that anyone can do it. All it takes is some brainstorming and few tips and tricks that you, me, and your mom can complete. So today I want to show you those techniques. I want to show you the methods that the best players in leagues use. And maybe by the end of this video we can figure out a very optimal strategy going into Leagues 5. As someone who is a proud owner of all these Dragon trophies, it is time to get another one. Let's start working on Leagues 5. Here we go. Now, I don't want you to get your hopes up. I hate to break this to you, but you're not gonna be rank 1. We all know solo mission sacrifices 9 virgins to Katik, Saradomin and Semarak before every league starts to get that sweet rank 1 spot. And despite that being already occupied, you can still do very well. So, Kriibus, what's the first thing to look out for? Well, let's talk about the point system itself. I genuinely don't think it's even remotely balanced for certain aspects of the game. Now, everything mentioned in this video is just the information we have from the previous leagues, and it mostly involves the task list we already know. But since the structure of leagues is almost the same as the last one, we can make some logical conclusions. There are bound to be some changes this time around, but the reality is that there are over 1,000 tasks in leagues, and usually only about 100 of them will be swapped out. So let's talk about the task list. Random example here. Let's take a look at clue scrolls. Every single league since the first one, clue scrolls have been absolutely broken. You get points for just opening up caskets. Easy, medium, hard, elite, master all have their own points to unlock. You get points for all the unique items you get from clues. You also get points for wearing those unique items. So let's say you unlock ranger boots. That gives you 80 points for getting them and 80 points for wearing them. So that's 160 points. Double whammy. Then you get points for unlocking new collection log items, and you also get points for unlocking specific clue scroll collection log items. So now that single ranger boots item can be worth almost 400 points. And just to put into perspective how powerful clue scrolls are, the collection log has slightly over 1,500 items on the entire list. About 40% of the entire collection log is made of just clue scroll items. So what you will see is a unique almost every single casket you open, which means points for every single casket you open. And we're not done yet. Firstly, Jagex has made a permanent feature where all clue scrolls are stackable in leagues, and you can get multiple at the same time. So you're not forced to complete them as soon as you get one. You can freely stack them up in your bank and decide whenever you want to complete them. Secondly, you can only get clue steps in your own region. So if you have 3 to 4 regions unlocked, you are guaranteed to repeat the same clue steps over and over again. Finally, if you look at last year's clue scroll relic, number 1, the drop rate of clue scrolls is increased by 10x. So if a medium clue used to be 1 in 100, now it's 1 in a 10. Number 2, the clue scrolls have lowest amount of steps to complete. So for example, again, medium clues will only take 3 steps to get the casket always. Number 3, the caskets always give you the maximum amount of reward rolls. And finally, after you open a casket, you have a chance to get another casket from that casket. Now that is some value points if you ask me. I calculated how many points come from just clue scrolls last leagues, and it's over 7,000 points. And that puts you exactly at tier 6 out of 8 relic. To add on top of that, around 70% of the players in last league picked the clue scroll relic because they simply understood how much value you can get from this. Now there are some caveats here, like getting the full gilded is still a very rare task, but you get the idea. It's basically points on top of points on top of points. A single item might look like 40 or 80 points on the task list, but in reality you're basically doing dozens and dozens of different tasks at the same time, and all of them work by you just opening up a few caskets. Now, I don't expect you to get 7,000 points from clue scrolls, even though you can, but let's say the values of relic unlocks stay roughly the same. Maybe you really want to get those few thousand points to unlock tier 4, 5, 6 and get those sweet combat relics so you can start PVMing. Something like clue scrolls could be an excellent way to get there. And it's not only just clue scrolls that have this effect. Combat achievements work exactly the same way. You get points for completing any combat achievement task in the game. You get points for having combat achievement points. You get points for just completing the speed tasks. You get points for completing a single tier of combat achievements, so easy, medium, hard, elite and so on. On top of that, every region has their own specific combat achievement point tasks. Completing Gauntlet CAs in Prifddinas, that's 400 points. Completing Firecape CAs for Karamja, another 400 points and so on. Point after point after point. And since you have extremely powerful relics that basically carry you through any PvM scenario, it's very easy to stack up thousands of points at certain bosses. You can now see how we're falling into the same design here, right? Oh, and by the way, side note, I'm planning to upload multiple different Leagues 5 guides in the next few weeks. So if you don't have the time to research yourself and want to get up-to-date information, consider hitting that subscribe button to not miss out on those videos. Thank you very much. But yeah, that's pretty much how top players think. They never go for a single task. Usually every task they complete, there is some underlying task beneath that. You wanna get a fire cape? Make sure you do it on a Slayer task, so you get points for increasing your Slayer level, you get points for equipping fire cape, you get points for speedrun task, because let's be honest, your relics are so powerful, and then you can get points for CAs like the one where you have to tank a chat hit. And you also get points for sacrificing that fire cape if you ever want to get infernal cape. You go to Salra, same thing, you have 4 unique drops that all give points, you have speed CAs, normal CAs, green logging the CAs, everything gives points. Now I'll stop you right there. There is a big caveat about combat achievements I want to quickly mention. In the League's Discord server there is a document, and I'll leave this down in the description as well so you can take a look at it yourself. But basically it showcases all the combat achievement points by regions. So if you take a look at this point distribution, the first thing that stands out is Mauritania, and by quite a lot. You can get over 500 combat achievement points in that region, while the second place has only 300 points. Does that mean you should immediately go for Mauritania? Probably not. I mean, a lot of these points are stuck behind Theatre of Blood and things like 92 Slayer with Rexer, so they are so far into the late game that it feels like a trap. On the other hand, there are also options like Grotesque Guardians, which I think have the most amount of combat achievement points of any boss in the game if we don't count raids. And since their kill counts include as a task and their drops include as a task, we get back to the same point again, which is that you're doing multiple things at once: training combat, training Slayer, getting CAs, getting speed tasks, getting drops, getting kill count and so on. I think I made my point now, but enough about PvM and clue scrolls. Let's talk about early game. When you don't have access to PvMing yet, that's when players usually start writing things down and coming up with their routes. You see this very often. Streamers, content creators, yours truly, and everyone who takes this seriously, they always have a minimum plan for the first few hours. Sometimes even an entire plan laid out for the first few days. Everywhere you go, there is a step laid out for you. You should never visit a single place for just one purpose. I'll leave another link in the description, and it's basically a template where you can plan out your route for Leagues 5. I used this in the previous leagues, and it's a very quick and easy way to go through regions and click off the tasks that you complete. I saw this a lot in the last leagues with people who didn't have a plan and they just get fixated on a single task, which is a massive waste of time. Like in the first hour, the most common one was cutting down a tree in the potato field, but the problem was that only one player gets the task per tree, while 10 other players just keep failing over and over again. The easiest thing would have been to just leave it and come back on day 2, but I got so fixated on this tree that I ended up wasting like 20 minutes in the potato field doing nothing, and then I realized it's only 10 points and it doesn't really matter. I should just leave. Another example, I went for the 10k in Stronghold of Security, and turns out a level 3 with no food is not a very good strategy. I spawned back in Lumby, wasted 10 minutes, I had to slightly change my route, and then I realized I didn't even need the money, but it was just an impulse thing. I always go for the 10k in Stronghold no matter what, even though most of the time it doesn't even matter. So when we're talking about getting fast points, it's all about thinking if you actually need it or can you do it later on and still be fine. Because the worst thing you can do is just run around like a headless chicken. Case in point, Kriibus in Leagues 4. Now, if you have 9 kids, 3 wives, 2 dogs and a pet rat and you don't have time to make up a plan yourself, once again the League's Discord usually has a few people who can cook up a day 1 plan, and they are more than happy to share it with everyone, so you can just yoink their strategy and go with that. I also often see people like Bodhi and Four share their plans for day 1, and they have a very good understanding of the game. So if you're busy until 27th of November when Leagues start, you can just find someone someone else's plan and use that as well. And before we end the video, I want to quickly mention skilling as well. From my experience, the best way to drain any skill is always minigames. There is almost no point using normal draining methods in leagues. Good example of that is Guardians of the Rift. And you know what? It's our lucky day. Jagex is buffing this minigame exactly before Leagues 5 starts. But essentially the goal is still the same. Basically all the rewards you get from that minigame are included as tasks. The full runecrafting outfit, Ring of the Elements, Colossal Pouch, Abyssal Lantern, even the skilling bed you get is an elite task. And you also need all the talismans because like half of them are needed to access specific altars, which all of them are tasks once again. And you can do all of this while training your runecrafting up. So again, we're just casually completing about 25 different tasks while playing a single minigame. And this goes for all skilling minigames: Temporos, Winter Dot, Forestry, Mastering Mixology, and so on. Also, something to keep in mind is that minigame points are amplified by 8 times. So for example, if you earned 5 points in Pest Control, now you earn 40 points in Leagues, and this goes for every minigame. But besides that, my experience has been that the fastest way to get points is by completing the easiest tasks early on until you have at least 2 extra regions unlocked. This is because region unlocks are based on the amount of tasks you complete rather than the amount of points you have. You can just rush through easiest tasks really fast in Misthalin, and you only need to complete approximately 60 tasks before you unlock another region. The reason it's so good is because now you have an entire different region with hundreds of extra tasks to complete, so you never feel like you're running out of things to do. Overall, if you want fast points, you need to come up with a good plan, and it so happens that I'm going to upload my entire plan to this YouTube channel in the next few weeks. So if you don't want to miss out on that, consider clicking that subscribe button. I thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow with another one. I love you all very much. Bye.